What's the craziest crime you or somebody in your family has committed? Part 2. I browse Reddit through the Chrome browser. On mobile. My uncle opened a speakeasy when he was 16. Managed to make it a full year before somebody ratted him out to the cops. They had all the booze you could think of. Poker tables. A designated driver system. All out of an abandoned farmhouse on the edge of town. It must have been a slow news week because when he was busted it made BBC headlines. All of this happened way before I was born. My friend got blackout drunk and stole a bulldozer that had the keys left in it. He turned it on and obviously didn't know how to drive it, so he just ended up making the scoopy part go up and down for a bit before the cops came. They actually let him go too. Not an actual crime. But when I was like 13 I was watching NSFW pictures on my parents' computer. Long story short, my dad got blamed on and paid with week on couch. As 6-year-old child I set something on fire. Almost cause an entire house block to go up in flames. In college we got a new printer and printed off a bunch of fairly convincing $20 bills. Roughed them up and used them at a bunch of fast food restaurants. Didn't realize how dumb it was until years later. My mom dated a man who was a mafia hitman. He killed a pretty high-profile target. 2. My dad grew weed occasionally. My brothers once stole my dad's car and destroyed it because they worked for him for a while and he didn't end up paying him. I've sold illicit goods. Mostly because I was quitting and has them on hand. I guess I have a family of degenerates. My bio dad is a pedo. Does that count? Got stoned. Drunk and rode an electric scooter with a friend. Only to end up in front of a huge fence with barbed wire I decided to climb. Huge mistake, it was a military base. I ran out of there at speed light when I realized. Fortunately I escaped. Nice try. FBI. Not sure if it should be considered a crime. But one of my great aunts was in an abusive marriage with a war vet who took to beating her and forcing her to play Russian roulette when he drank. One night she managed to rig the gun so when he took his turn he blew his brains out. She wasn't charged. I stepped on my dog's foot once accidentally and boy do I regret it. Uncle Jeff ate a few guys in Milwaukee. My grandpa wouldn't obey the train warnings. He would try and beat the train rather than wait. First time he got hit in his new convertible on the way to prom with my grandma. Had barely started on the payments and car was totaled. Luckily they were both okay. Second time was a little less reckless but still dumb. He was driving a semi and it broke down on the tracks. He kept trying to get the tractor trailer to start, rather than lose his rig and load. Semi got hit by the train. Total loss and fucked up his back. My dad's older brother came home from the war in Vietnam to find that his wife had been cheating on him with his best friend. He locked them both in the friend's house and burned it down with them in it. He held the firefighters off with a rifle until he was sure they couldn't be saved. Then he shot himself. This was before I was born. But I've seen some newspaper clippings about it. Edit, several people asked how he kept them in the house alone. I asked my mother about it and she said that he locked them together in a small bedroom closet and barricaded the door from the outside so they couldn't get out. This was 1970 in New Orleans. I'm not gonna give more info as it'd be easy to tie back to me, same last name, or his daughter who was a little under 2 years old at the time. And I don't want that. Edit number 2, apparently. It's Vietnam and not Vietnam. Thanks for the corrections. My uncle started a fight in his regular pub in his 20s after they tried to charge him an extra 10p for his usual lager and lime, 10p for the lime. He kicked the shit out of the bartender. Broke a police officer's nose. And it took 8 of them to bring him down in the end, I believe. He still boasts to this day about how he came out of prison with more criminal knowledge than he went in with and how he used to make metal hooks for the other prisoners which they'd use to scale the fences to try and escape. He thinks it makes him sound cool and edgy, but he's such a dickhead. Can't stand him. My dad's side of the family grew up as New Hampshire hicks. My grandfather was stabbed in 2 different bar fights and burned down an entire country club because he thought they were too stuck up. He was never caught and went on to earn a Bronze and Silver Star in the Korean War. But unfortunately lost his leg too. Edit, since this is getting some attention I thought I might add that my grandfather got his shit together. Started a successful small business and as a funny twist later joined that same country club as an old man. He never really felt welcome there, my dad said though. They weren't really his kind of people. Human smuggling. My great-great-great-grandfather's aunts ran a station on the Underground Railroad. Which was morally right. But legally wrong. He's dead now. But years ago my relative got in a bar fight and lost, so he went to his vehicle to get his rifle. Fortunately the police arrested him on the way into the bar, so his charges were a lot less. Still did jail time. When I was a dumb 6th grader. My best friend was a hardcore vegetarian. A McDonald's was going up practically in the backyard of her fam's condo. We snuck out and spray painted things like meat equals death on it, keeping in mind that I was a happy omnivore lol. But then we pulled up these rocks the size of our heads and threw them at 2 huge 7 to 8 feet windows. Think of the windows on the front of a Mercedes that let you see the entire inside. Took a couple attempts to get them to shatter. We snuck out a lot. There was one time around age 15 when we applied heavy makeup, wore our slag clothes, and got into a frat party. She lived walking distance to campus, and smoked pot for the first time. I once snuck a camera in a movie theater and made a cam recording of a movie that I uploaded to the internet. My cousin was affiliated with a 1% MC. He was not a patched member but would do jobs for them. He got arrested for beating someone with a baseball bat who allegedly had gambling debt with the MC. He did 3 years and was on parole for a few years after that. He's still a shady character and I wouldn't be surprised if he was still doing dumb shit. Edit, MC equals motorcycle club. A 1% motorcycle club is the 1% of MC who are involved in organized crime. My cousin in Youngstown. Used to rob people selling goods on Facebook. Got caught after him and accomplice murdered a man over a PS3. Good times. My uncle stole one of those oil candles from our table at a Hard Rock cafe once. When we got outside he pulled it from his jacket with it still lit. My dad brought in a banana tree to the US from his home village in Kerala. He literally walked through customs with a tree in a pot in his arms. The customs lady asked him what he was thinking and he just replied that the banana tree was from his mother's garden. The customs lady must have thought my dad was crazy. But she just let him walk right through. We still have that tree and its offspring. My mother-in-law and her ROTC friends once stole an actual tank from a military base way back in the 60s/70s. They were there on a field trip and they were finally stopped when they ran out of gas while driving it down the highway. According to my grandmother-in-law, she saw the whole thing going down on the news before she got the call and realized her kid was one of those joyriders. There's a video of it floating around on the internet somewhere. My dad got into a bar fight around 21 or so. Hit a guy so hard he killed him. He went to prison of course, but while working along the road he stopped another prisoner that attacked a guard and tried to escape. My dad was released for that. He never drank after that and if he got angry he just walked out of the house to cool off. He turned 81 a week ago and he's the nicest, easiest going guy you would ever meet. He never judges anyone. He once said to me, "We all make mistakes." For the record, I only heard the story about 10 years ago from my brother. He told him during a road trip. He lived in a small town and I have no idea what prison he was at or the official reason he was released, but considering it was probably around 61/62, they probably used whatever reason they wanted to for his release. Not family, but a good friend, so pretty close to family. Stole the mall golf cart that was used to help seniors and disabled people. Had security cashing him down and tried running it through the huge double glass doors into the parking lot. He got away. Shitty thing to do now. But 25 years ago it was pretty funny. My father, when I was still very young, used a fake name and pretended to be a wedding planner for a young couple. That young couple hired him, since he seemed trustworthy and is an excellent liar, giving him access to their savings for wedding supplies and such that would be needed. Instead, he stole all of the money out of their account and then ran away with it. As far as I am aware, he was never caught and the money was never returned to them. The worst part is that the poor couple never even got their wedding and had almost nothing left afterwards. My grandfather was often drunk, but when he wasn't drunk he would pretend to be drunk so that the Soviet Communist Party members responsible for interrogating all those who might be opposed to communism thought and said, he's a drunk. We'll question him last. This gave him time to gather resources so he could escape, with my dad. So, although public inebriation probably almost certainly wasn't a crime in most Eastern European countries at the time, late 40s. He would have been gulag bound if he'd been caught in this charade. My dad's cousin erased all family member names from a property deed except for his father's. The paperwork had been water damaged, so there was no easy way to tell what should have been there. Family lore says that he also paid off some local politicians/office workers to make the new deed stand. Thanks for watching.